Hello, everyone. I'm Kimberly Adams. Welcome back to Make Me Smart, where we make today make sense. Thank you for joining us, whether you're watching on the YouTube live stream or listening in the podcast. It is Friday, which means it's time for our weekly happy hour episode, Economics on Tap. And we are going to do another one of our check-ins that we've been doing with local reporters around the country. And this time, reporting in from Tampa, Florida, I'm joined by Jessica Meszaros, a Florida climate change reporter at WUSF. Welcome, Jessica.
Hey, good evening.
And I see that you brought a friend also.
Yes, this is Nacho. He's 2 years old on Monday, and he's a Sphinx cat.
Oh,
He is
and he
wearing a
looks so
Christmas sweater.
cozy.
Yeah.
I'm in the studio, so I couldn't bring my cat, who usually makes an appearance. So I'm glad that we have at least one cat in the podcast today. All right, we are going to do some climate change news, some games later on. But first, let's talk drinks. Jessica, I know you've got a microphone in one hand and a cat in the other, but can you also juggle a drink?
Let's see, I can multitask. Yeah, I got the cat and the microphone in one hand and the drink in the other.
What is this
So
drink?
I am drinking the Hum prebiotic or probiotic rather kombucha. It's nitro blackberry vanilla. I really love this one. It's super
Ooh,
creamy.
that looks good.
Yeah.
Yeah, since I don't have a cozy cat to keep me company, I instead have some warm sake in absolutely the wrong glass, but it's what I had here in the office. Let's see what everybody's drinking in the chat. Oh, by the way, everyone is saying hello to you and Nacho. Very happy to see you.
Say hi,
Somebody
Nacho.
wants to know what the cat is drinking. But
Oh, he drinks
anyway,
water.
let's see. Water. Peg is drinking Woodford Reserve Manhattan. Let's see. Chris has a Pizza Port Swami's IPA. Margie has a warm apple juice with rum. Yum. Love that. And let's see. Tech in ATL has a Modelo with lime, nice and simple. Miles with the Budweiser, the king of beers. Sarah with the Mountain Dew, who I guess you're going to be awake all night. And somebody in Florida, QNetX, says they're having sweet vermouth before dinner. And then Davis is having some water. Lots of nice mix of drinks today. But thank you so much for coming on because Florida is just so full of interesting stories between what's happening with your healthcare sector and what's happening with your government. But I want to talk about your area of expertise, climate change, because obviously Florida has just been getting it for years and years in terms of being one of the first states to really feel the strong impacts of climate change. But this year, for the first time in a decade, your state was spared hurricane landfalls this season. No hurricanes in Florida. What's this, the first time in a decade this has happened?
Yeah, I think a lot of us are just like breathing a sigh of relief, especially in the Tampa Bay region. In this area, we were hit with three storms back to back in 2024. So a lot of us feel like, okay, we got a break to continue to recover and rebuild our homes and rebuild our businesses and our livelihoods.
Yeah, those hurricanes were so bad and just like one right after the other. But the fact of all of these hurricanes and the rebuilding and the hurricanes and the rebuildings has done a number on y'all's home insurance market. Can you talk about what's been happening there?
Well, we actually got some good news this week. I don't know what's going on, but no hurricanes and some good news on insurance. We actually heard from insurance regulators who said that home premiums are stabilizing after years of increases. I mean, year over year, massive rate hikes to now very modest rate hikes. That's how Florida's insurance commissioner described it this week, but that hasn't always been the
Mhm.
case.
What is it like, if for people who they'll hear nationwide that, oh, is Nacho done with us?
Yeah, I think it's too hot in
All
the
right, bye,
blanket.
Nacho.
And bye. Thank you.
I think people all over the country will hear that home insurance rates are high in Florida, but can you like put that into context? Like how much of people's incomes is this eating up? Like what does that feel like?
Well, Actually, a report by LexisNexis Risk Solutions said that the average premiums for Florida homeowners rose nearly 60% between 2015 and 2023. And that's considered the largest increase in any state. I did get to talk to a lot of homeowners in the last couple years because of a story that I did in partnership with Sea Change, the podcast out of WWNO. And we heard from people who were saying like their policies were suddenly dropped, or they got threats of being dropped if they didn't fix their roof in a few months, which is like that's a huge expense. It's one of the biggest expenses that you can
Yeah.
have. So yeah, and also too, we were talking about the storms after Hurricane Helene. I spoke to one elderly woman in a predominantly Hispanic neighborhood hit hard by Helene's storm surge who said just a couple months prior, she had just let go of her property insurance because she couldn't afford it. So now her home is, destroyed and she doesn't have property insurance. So some people are just deciding to go without, even if they, because they can, if they don't have a mortgage, they're able to do that.
Mm. Yeah, I feel like people are going to be making that decision quite a bit, or are making that decision right now when it comes to healthcare, given what's happening with these ACA premiums. But you were telling me earlier that this is not the only cost that has been going up in Florida, that another really strong jump in prices is being felt when it comes to utility costs.
Yeah, so actually in the Tampa region, in June, I reported how the Tampa region residents here paid the highest bills across the whole state and second highest in the country. And so
Mm.
yeah, it's been really hard for people. They actually, a story that I have coming out on Monday, I'll give you a little sneak preview, is there is a petition right now to sue the company Tampa Electric for price gouging. And over it
Wow.
has as of right now, last I saw it earlier today, had over 6,500 verified signatures and lots of commenters, so over 140 people commenting saying like electricity is now a luxury rather than a necessity. And some people said that their lights had to be turned off for a week because they couldn't pay, or a really large, $500 deposit for paying late. So yeah, it's really hard for people right now.
Yeah, I'm looking in the chat. Some of the folks in Florida are talking about just like how expensive home insurance is, that it's 4 times their taxes, or home insurance is now 2.5 times the taxes on my house in South Florida. And, somebody else was commenting that home insurance in Arizona is a fourth of what they were paying in California. This really gets into, with the home insurance and the utility prices, this affordability narrative that's really been taking over the country, because how do you even absorb cost increases like that? Like, what are some of the stories that you've been hearing from people about what they're doing? I mean, now you mentioned somebody who just had their lights turned off or just couldn't rebuild, but what else are you hearing?
Well, I'm also I attend community listening sessions, people who just want to air their grievances with how high their electric bills are, and some people are having to choose, do I get my medicine? Do I pay my electric bill? Do I get groceries or do I pay my electric bill? So they're having to make these kinds of decisions. And really in a state like Florida, I mean, we're in our version of winter right now, so it's a little easier, but in the summers it's deadly hot. So
Hmm.
it's like, turning on your AC it's a public health risk if it's not on, really, for some people.
Yeah. What, if any, political consequences have you seen for this? Because this is what everybody's trying to figure out here in Washington. Will this affordability crisis, as it's being dubbed, actually show up meaningfully in the midterms? Are you seeing any kind of political changes, headwinds in terms of how people are actually reacting to that? I mean, you mentioned the petition.
Well, as of right now, I mean, Florida keeps having like sessions on property insurance. And I think it's kind of notorious for like not much happens after that. Or sometimes what happens is like things happen in favor of private insurers versus like the protection of homeowners who are the ones that are taking the hit. Florida is really interested in incentivizing small private insurers in staying in the state. So a lot of their solutions have been regarding that. And I think that's what makes it this really unique because the higher the risk in a state like Florida that is, stronger hurricanes, the sea level's rising, so there's more flooding, whether it's from record rainfall like we saw during Hurricane Milton or Helene storm surge of salt water. So yeah, I think that sorry, I just lost my train of thought.
That's okay.
I was
I
picturing all the
mean, but
water
that's
coming
it.
in
It's like it's like, this is the thing though. Every Donald Trump, several folks have pointed out in the chat that President Trump is saying that this is all a hoax, but people are feeling it. And it's kind of unknown how that's going to show up politically. Although Miles Wilburn pointed to the Miami mayoral race as a
right.
possible indication where I believe a Democrat won there in a bit of an upset. And so, yeah, I guess we're going to be watching for that. But what do you think, especially on the issues of what's happening with what has happened with home insurance, what's happening with utility prices, and even in terms of adaptation to climate change, what do you think are some of the lessons from Florida for the rest of the country?
So, do you mind if I go into a little history here to kind of give some context? Do we
Not
have
at
time for
all.
that?
Go for
Okay.
it. We
So,
do.
what we saw was in 1992, Hurricane Andrew, right? Like huge storm, super destructive in a large part of the state, and that's the first time that big insurers pulled out. And then the state freaked out and is like, well, people need coverage. And the state didn't want to necessarily, incur all of those policies, and the state backed insure citizens property insurance. So that's when they started to incentivize small insurers. And pretty much people with like little to no experience started opening up these companies, and you can't really make a lot of money on a regulated company, so then they started opening
Yeah.
up these shell companies to start answering their phones and doing all of these things. So those are not regulated, so they were able to jack up the prices that way. And when there's no storms, they're just kind of like getting rich. And then when there is a storm, historically, what has happened since 1992 is that then these small companies go bankrupt. And
Hmm.
then the state picks up these policies again and then incentivizes new small insurers to open up insurance companies, and then they put those policies back onto them. And so it's just been kind of like it's that's how it's been, this cycle. And that's what we've historically seen. We'll see what happens after, we had, like I mentioned, we had Debby, Helene, and Milton back to back in 2024 with devastating flooding and wind damage. And there's still a lot of litigation going on right now. People are still waiting to, like fighting with their insurance companies. People still have blue tarps on their roofs over a year later. So we'll see what's going to happen down the line, how many of these companies survive. And I think it's back to your
Yeah.
question of like what we can learn nationally is like, so that's how Florida dealt with like these big insurers pulling out. So the more that
Hmm.
a state becomes risky, whether it's, not just hurricanes, but maybe it's wildfires, the more that your state becomes a risk and these big insurers decide to pull out, how is your state going to respond to that? And this is how Florida happened to respond. And it's just not really working. We're always somehow in a state of like crisis, or like, okay, it's a little calm for right now, and then back to the crisis.
That's a really good point. Like, since this is effectively coming for all of us, whatever the impact of climate change is where you are, I'm from Missouri, we have a ton of floods. What is the state's model when the private sector no longer wants to mess with you? When the private
Right.
sector no longer plans to insure your homes? What's the backstop? Is your state going to do anything? And clearly, the model that you have in Florida hasn't worked out so well. So, yeah, I'd be interested in hearing what kind of other models are there. But that's probably a topic for another show. We are going to take a quick break. And when we come back, Jessica and I are going to play a game. All right, I am back with Jessica Meszaros of WUSF in Tampa, Florida. And we are going to be playing. Excuse me. We are going to be playing a round of half full, half empty with Drew Jostad, who's back this week to host us. Hey, Drew.
Hi, Kimberly. First up this week. All right, so Jessica, in case you're not familiar with how it goes, I'm going to read you a series of recent stories or trends and ask you if you're half full, meaning you're optimistic about it, or half empty, meaning not so much. And that's about it. And the last one we asked the audience as well. So first up, we had this story on Marketplace this week. A company that's using artificial intelligence powered systems to reduce the cost of sorting recycling. Are you half full or half empty on using AI to help recycle?
I feel like I need to
Hmm.
let you go first as the climate change reporter.
Well, I guess any initiative that's toward recycling is a good initiative. I don't I don't really I hadn't heard that story yet. But I'm gonna definitely look into it. I say right now, maybe my cup is half full. I want to be optimistic that recycling is good. How about you?
I'm gonna be half full in particular because like these are the kinds of jobs that I think are better outsourced to machines because it can be quite dangerous. It can have a lot of sharp things, a lot of dangerous things. People don't always do a very good job. It can be tedious. So yeah, give that job to the machines and let us do something else. So I'm gonna say half full.
That's a great point. Yeah, I'm
Next
sticking to
up,
it.
are you half full or half empty on the new deal between Disney and OpenAI to allow people to include Disney characters in images and videos created on ChatGPT and Sora?
So can I say it's not like they weren't doing it already, right? It's
Right.
not it's not like people were not already using whatever magical prompts they were using to try to like maneuver the image generators to give them Disney-like characters. So it feels to me like Disney's just trying to like the horse has already left the barn. Let's get whatever money we can for it. Um yeah, I don't know. You live in the land of Disney. What do you think?
I don't live in the land of AI, so that's like
Mm.
but I would say I don't know, like
We
are
all
are
live
they
in the land of AI now.
right? I mean, is it that they're going to be speaking in the voices of the Disney characters or are they just images?
I think Sora is just an image generator, if I'm not
I think
mistaken. But I
Sora
mean,
is
they
the
can also.
video one.
Oh, Sora's the video one. So I guess it's everything. Um, I mean, I'm neutral. I don't really have feelings. You know what? Half empty. You know what? I'm going to say half empty because of the electricity and currently, and I know there's technology to make it better, water usage of AI.
Yeah.
Like, let's use it for sorting recycling rather than making stuff like that. So I'm going to say half empty just for that. But I totally get why Disney wants to get money for what's already happening. What do you think?
Yeah, I actually really love that reasoning, and I think it's true. We should be intentional about how we're going to use AI. So I think also half empty.
And also, I'm curious, like, Disney's making this deal, but think about all of the artists and voice actors and other people who Disney owns the right to their work. And now, whether they like it or not, it's being handed over. And
Hmm.
so it's just a little bit less control that these artists have over their name, image, likeness, voice, creativity, their ideas, their drawings. So, yeah. I may be all the way empty on this one the more I think about it. Anyway, Drew,
Yeah.
let's move on.
All right. Next up, as we gear up for Christmas, are you half full or half empty on fruitcakes?
I like that question.
You seem to have strong feelings about this, Jessica. You go ahead.
I like fruit in a cake, but like the Christmas fruit cake doesn't do it for me specifically. So I'll say half empty for me. I just have it different. But I like fruit with like fresh I like cake with like fresh fruit on it. Personally, yeah.
So I I've had are those what do they call them? The ones that come in like the special box that's like yellow that's like a fruit cake at Christmas. I don't know
Yeah.
what they're called, but they're like Italian or something.
Is it a
Are those also
panettone?
fruit cake? Yeah, panettone. Are those also fruit cakes considered? Oh, somebody in the chat. New Marco says, as an Italian American, panettone is considered a fruitcake. I will eat that fruitcake. Um,
I'll have to try that.
the one that comes like in a loaf with like the like hard, not like almost like the jelly candy fruit in it. not so much that. The ones with the dried fruit, I'm more on board with, but not so basically I like the fancy fruit cake. So half full. What about you?
I guess I think I said originally half empty, but I have to try what is it, panettone?
I think
Panettone.
panettone, I think is how you say it. But
Yeah.
it can't be
So
Pantone because that's the color, which I
right.
guess what was a cloud that they chose as their color of the year. Too much controversy this year. Anyway, what's next, Drew?
Next is the audience poll.
All right, everybody in the YouTube chat, get ready to vote. And while you're there, if you don't mind liking and giving a thumbs up, we would very much appreciate it. And subscribe if you haven't already. All right, what we got, Drew?
So our poll this week is regarding raccoons, and it's an article in The Guardian reporting on a study comparing urban raccoons, city-dwelling raccoons, with rural ones, and suggesting that maybe the ones dwelling in cities seem to be self-domesticating. They're less aggressive. They're better at eating trash. They're better at getting along with people. So are you half full or half empty on that situation?
So I have to tell you, Jessica, this one 100% came from our producer, Jesus, who has been spamming me with raccoon memes and videos. And I'm here for it, but this is absolutely not where I thought this was going to go. I thought it was going to be the story about the drunk raccoon in Virginia, because here in the DMV, the story has been the District of Columbia, Maryland, Virginia area. It's been all over the news about this raccoon that broke into a liquor store, knocked over all these bottles, got drunk, and then passed out in the bathroom.
Oh my God.
This
Oh,
really
poor
happened.
raccoon.
And there's photos of this raccoon like sprawled out on the bathroom floor in the back of this liquor store. It's amazing. Anyway, okay, so that's not the topic of discussion. It's whether or not raccoons are self-domesticating. So I've seen a couple of scientists online sort of challenge this research, but I'm not a biologist, so I'm not at all qualified. So let's just go with the premise. You know, it makes sense if you think about sort of the dogs that stayed in the wild and remained wolves versus those that got came around humans and got bred to be pugs. Um, or but I feel like that's usually a longer timeline, but I don't know. What do you think?
I think that I think that I'm not a scientist, but I love
Okay.
animals, and I do see that they do tend to adapt to their environments. I don't know to what extent, and like that it's going to be
Mm-hmm.
genetic and that their babies automatically know how to live in a city or anything like that. But I think that behavior can be learned. So I think my cup is half full because it makes me happy that the raccoons are able to coexist with people and that they've managed to find a way of life that's seems to be good for them. So in a city,
They've learned how to play the humans the way that the cats have. My mom likes to
right?
say that dogs have owners, cats have staff. Um,
Oh, I love that. So accurate.
I'm gonna go half full along with you, and that's the slight majority in the audience poll. 52% are half full on raccoons self-domesticating, and 48% half empty. I'm loving all the raccoon jokes. People saying at least the raccoon didn't drive home. Robert says, "Note, this didn't happen in Florida."
Finally.
And finally, right? Okay, so 52% half full, 48% half empty. Thanks everybody for voting. All right, that is a wrap on today's happy hour episode, Economics on Tap. Thanks for coming on the show, Jessica. Where can people find your work?
Oh, at WUSF.org is where you can find my work. I also sometimes do stories for NPR, so at NPR.org.
Nice. Well, thank you so much for coming on and for showing us your cat. We appreciate it.
Thank you. It's been so much fun. I learned a lot about
Well,
raccoons
we learned a lot
specifically.
from you. Hey, the show is called Make Me Smart. That is the whole point, and you made us smarter about what's going on in your community. And I hope that the folks in the chat and listening who are in Florida support their local public radio stations in Florida. And, folks, if you can, support us. I'm just going to give a little reminder that for this week only, you can get your very own Marketplace hoodie for half the price. It is half price hoodie week. It's soft and it's cozy. It's very warm, and you can be just as warm as Nacho was earlier. And it's a little way of us saying thanks when you make your year-end donation a little bit early. Please don't sleep on this deal, because once it's gone, and it's half price right now. You can give now at marketplace.org or click the link in our show notes. We are going to be back next week, and in the meantime, as the year winds down, we want to hear your thoughts. What do you think were the biggest economic stories of 2025 in your view? How do you feel about the economy this year, the affordability crisis? What are you looking forward to in 2026? Because Lord knows we all need something to look forward to these days. You can email us at makemesmart@marketplace.org or leave us a voicemail at 508-UB-SMART. Everybody, have a great weekend. Is Nacho still around, or did he run off?
Oh, yeah, he's in his bed sleeping.
Make Me Smart is produced by Courtney Burke-Seeker with the help of Jesus Alvarado, our raccoon expert this week. Today's episode was engineered by Charlton Thorpe. The team behind the YouTube live stream is Emily McCune and Antoinette Brock. Our interim supervisory senior producer is Stephanie Seek. Nancy Fargali is executive producer of Marketplace Shows, and Joanne Griffith is our chief content officer.